Hello YouTube friends, thanks for joining us for the next episode of Patrick's 1964 Galaxie 500 XL rebuild. Today he's going to be installing a retro style tachometer, and it has a bracket that mounts to the steering column, so it'll be mounted over here somewhere so that he has knee space and can still access the switches on the dash. So the other thing he's going to do is replace the glass fuses with this flex fuse, it's called. The advantage of the flex fuse is that it has this little notch here, or a metal point, where he can install a power source without having to run a bunch of extra wiring through a wiring harness. And that comes to you from flexfuses.com. Not sponsored, just something that he's sourced to replace the glass fuses. If you want to get a close-up of those, that might be good. Flexfuse.com, and there's the notch that he'll install the electrical points onto.
All right, so for those of you that have the old glass style fuses, there's a company called Flex Fuse that sells these. And what they are is they just basically they replace the glass fuse, and then you use one of these fuses to replace it. They've also got something that's pretty neat here, is where you can actually add a connector to it. I've put 3 or 4 in my Galaxie. I'm going to see how they work. I already put one in for my electric choke. I'm going to put a couple more in for a few other fittings. Instead of putting a whole new wiring harness in, and my wiring's not in bad shape, I thought I'd try this. They're not exactly cheap. I would suggest you buy more of these with the extra tap connector than I would the non, but they're actually pretty handy. They're not cheap, but worth a try. Even though I'm not ready to finish the bodywork or anything, I do have that engine running on my Galaxie, and I want to make sure that my RPMs are making sense and the shift points are half decent on my transmission. So when I got the crate engine done, the guy said have it idling at about 1,000 RPM, which seems high, but with the flat tapped cam I have, he said get it done there. So I'm going to put a tack in. So I got this Bosch one. I wanted to get something that looked a little bit retro, so that's about the closest thing I could get for a reasonable price. For the wiring, pretty simple. I've got the 3 wires I got to put in. I'm going to use the kit. Like I mentioned with the flex fuse, I've got a fitting on there. I can use one of the I guess the taps off one of those flex fuse fittings to get it going. So we'll see how it works. All right, it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see that I've put the new ones in. You can see in some cases I've added a wire for the plugs. Probably the biggest challenge here was finding. Sorry, I don't know if it's out of focus here. All right, you can see I've got them all in. I've got a couple extra wires in there. You can see I've got some of these plugged in. Now you might notice that there's a double plug on some of these. These are low power items that I've added. So one being, of course, for the tack light, and one being for another power, one for the tack power and one for a spare, because there aren't a lot of extra spots here. There's one spare in here that I decided to wait on, but for the most part it's doing okay. Everything seems to work. Fuses will be easy to get at, and I'll be able to add a few more as needed. And yeah, so if you want to try these, I'd suggest getting more of the ones with the spare plug, because you never know how many you're going to need. But yeah, so far it seems to work okay.